Kit Kats can read.
Hey guys, it's Katie. Welcome to another video, and in today's video I'm going to be doing my mid-year book freakout tag. So I'm doing this in August. I know some people did it in June, and really sort of I suppose like July is more like the mid-year, but you know, who cares? I'm a little bit late, but it's here anyway. So I'm doing it for 2020. So there are several questions. I'm going to be reading these out and sharing with you the books I've put towards these, and I'll place the pictures over here and I'll speak about the reason why I've put these towards these. This is a little bit like a mini reward show, I suppose. So first question is, what is the best book that you've read in 2020 so far? So I had a look through the books that I had read in Goodreads, and I decided to go with Meet Me at Midnight by Jessica Pennington. So this book I thought was really sort of like summary. I read this as I got it as a review book, and I just really enjoyed it. I just devoured this book, and I really love that sort of like hate to love trope, and that's another reason why I devoured it, and I totally recommend it. And it was just such an awesome book about this girl and her family, and this guy and his family, and they just don't like each other, these two people, and then just one day they have to like work together, and it's just about like possible friendship, possible romance. It was so good, and more people need to read it. Next of all, we have the best sequel read in 2020. So for this one I went with P.S. I Still Love You by Jenny Han. So this is the second book that is in this trilogy, and I read this around the time that the movie was coming out, and I watched the movie first, I believe, and then I read the book, and I just wanted to see the similarities and differences between them, and I like both in different ways, but I really enjoyed the second book. Like, they're just sort of really cute, funny stories, and this is a continuation, so I don't really want to spoil too much on it, but we basically have our main girl character, and in the first book she has about 5 love letters, and her sister sends them off to the original people, and they suddenly go up to Lara Jean and they're like, oh my god, and some of them are flattered, some of them are a bit like, what? And obviously Lara's just so embarrassed, and yeah, it's just about her dealing with that, and just love interests and everything. And yeah, it's super fun, it's super cool, and I really enjoyed reading the sequel, and I look forward to reading the third book that's in the trilogy soon. Next of all is new release that I haven't read yet. To be honest, this can go towards quite a lot of books really about a new release that I haven't read yet, and to be honest, I've got quite a lot here that I can really sort of like pick. So I'm just going to go with this book here, which is High Fire by Ian Colfer. This is his adult book, and it's got a dragon in it, and it's totally cool. But yeah, this is a new release. It came out this year, and I just haven't got around to reading it yet, but I'm really super intrigued about this book. Next question is, what's the anticipated release for like the rest of the year? I'm gonna have to go with Midnight Sun by Stephanie Meyer. I never read this. I think it was like online or something like that, but I never read it, and she's actually releasing it in a book form, and I'm just like, oh, now I'm a Twilight fan, I have to say it. Some people love it, some people don't, some people just find it okay, but I grew up on Twilight. Like, Twilight brought me into the teen world, let's just say that, and I loved those books. They are total cheesy vampire books, but I love them. Like, they're just those addictive reads that you just can't help but enjoy, and I was recommended it years ago when it first came out. I was obsessed with the first book that I had to get the other books. I was recommended it by a Waterstones employee at the time, so kudos to that woman, because she got me into the Twilight world, and she asked me, she was like, how did you find it? And I was like, loved it. Like, and I've got the books, I've got special editions of the books, I've seen the movies quite a few times, but the books I find are a lot better, and I really just enjoy those books, and I try to sort of like reread them, not every year, but like every couple of years sort of thing. So I am due a reread soon, but I do love those books. So I'm very, very excited for Midnight Sun when that comes out this month. Next of all is, what is your disappointment of the year? So I was just looking through my books on Goodreads, and I just went with the one that I rated the lowest, and that's just Holly Starcross by Barely Dirty. So that book I gave a 3 out of 5 Kit Kats, and that's just because I don't know, I got a little bit bored throughout it, and it just wasn't, you know, I really liked part of the storyline, and then I don't know, I think it just, things happened a little bit too fast at the beginning part of the book, and I was just like, okay, and then I just lost a little bit of interest. So I found it to be like an okay read, because 3 is alright. 3 for me is like I found it to be an okay read. 4 is good. 5 is brilliant. So that's just how I rate my books. So yeah, it was an okay read, so it was a little bit disappointing. I would have liked a bit more from the book, a bit more punch, maybe something else that happened in the book to lead it up to like what happened. But yeah, it was an okay book all the same. And then with most surprising book, for this one I put Wither by Lauren DeStefano. So this is the first book that's in the Chemical Garden trilogy. I have owned this ever since I started BookTube. I finally got around to reading it. I was really, really surprised by this, and more surprised in the sense of like, why didn't I read this book sooner? Like, I had it all those years of BookTube and I haven't got around to reading it, and then I read it and I was just like, wow, you know what, I actually really am enjoying this book. So I ended up buying the sequel, and I think I already own the third that I got from probably a charity shop or somewhere, because I had the third book somewhere for really cheap, and or a library sale or something. And so I bought the second book really, really sort of cheap second hand. So I do have the second book in line at some point when I'm ready to get around to reading the sequel. But yeah, I was really, really surprised by Wither. Next question is favourite new author. For this one I will have to go with Jessica Pennington from reading the book Meet Me at Midnight. I just would like to read her other books as well. I don't know if I own any of her other books, so I'll have to have a look up to see what else she has released as well, and then sort of like add them to my wish list and eventually get them, whether on ebook or whether in physical format. I'm not entirely sure yet, but I just loved that book so much that I would just want to dive into a backlist. Next question is new fictional crush. Well, I'm going to go with the character of Asher from Meet Me at Midnight. He is the guy character. I just really liked him. I just thought he was cheeky, he was just sassy, and just the pranks that they would just pull on each other, and he just had this quirkiness about them that I really, really liked. So he was my definite favourite fictional crush, definitely. Then favourite character, I picked Noah from the book Pretty Funny by Rebecca Elliott. So this book, Noah is Taylor's younger brother, and he is so freaking hilarious, which is why he's my favourite character of this year. He just stood out for me, and he's just so funny, and he is just, oh yeah, just, I really, really, he was just awesome. He made the book. Next is book that made you cry. For this one I went with my reread of If I Stay by Gail Forman. This book, just everything that happens in the beginning of that book, if you've read it you know what I mean by it, but it just really pulled at my heartstrings. It really choked my throat up, and it doesn't take, well, it takes a lot for me to actually physically cry, but it doesn't take a lot for me to actually, you know, sort of choke or feel really, really sad. So this is the book that really, really made me sad, and I very, very nearly cried, because I totally fell for the main girl character completely, and just, it was just so sad. It was so sad, and it was brutal, and it was just like, oh my god, what a sad book, but wow, just what a book in general. And then a book that made me happy, so I went with Emmy and Oliver by Robin Benway. This is another story about two people that were friends, and then a few years later, and then they come back together as friends, and this is just, it was just, I don't know, it was cheesy, it was happy, it was smiley, it was just one of those contemporary books that just sort of blossoms with the friendship and with a bit of romance and just with possibility, and you can't help but smile So this was a book that really sort of made me smile. Next of all is a beautiful book that I bought this year. I'm going to go with High Fire again by Ian Colfer. This, I was looking at the new books I got this year, but this book is gorgeous. I love these blue scales. I love this like dragon. I just love it so much. I think it's gorgeous and just how they shine and speckle, and I just think it's just gorgeous for a cover, like a hardcover. So yeah, pretty book. And then the last question of the mid-year book Freakout tag is books that you're going to read for the rest of the year. So this I'm going to do a separate video for, that I'm going to literally film after this, because I've got 5 books that I definitely want to read before the end of the year. But then I've also got books that I've got on my 2020 TBR that I would, you know, obviously need to try and read. And also from my unwrapped books as well that I haven't got round to reading. So I'll be mentioning those in the video, but I will quickly share with you these 5 books. So the first book is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I love Daisy Jones and the Six that I read by this author last year. I want to read her other books. This is a book that was massively hyped the past couple of years. It was hyped last year, it was hyped the year before, and I've got such an urge to read this book. And after reading Daisy Jones and the Six, I really want to read this book, and I want to read her other books as well. But this is the next physical book that I've got by this author. So if I absolutely love, adore and enjoy this book, then I will purchase her other books, because then it's a given that her books are just freaking awesome. Another book that I really want to read before the end of the year is Gimme Ho! Wicked Fox by Kat Cho. I've such an urge to read this book. I keep looking at it, and my friends have recommended it to me and have said like, oh my god, Katie, if you love things like K-pop, and if you just love like cheesy romance, and if you just love manga and animes and things like that, you will love this. And I'm just like, oh, you're selling it to me. But yeah, I really like, oh yeah, want to read this so bad. And then I've got The Evolution by Giovanna and Tom Fletcher. This is the sequel to the Eve of Man book. I loved that first book. I really enjoyed it so much. So I've got the sequel now. I just really want to see what happens next in this book, and yeah, I just really want to read it. And then I've selected A Zodiac by Romina Russell that I really want to read. Reason being, actually, that's really sparked my interest for this book is because of this whole new zodiac sign that's come out as like a 13th zodiac, and you know, this is a book that's based on like the 13th zodiac sign. So I've just been totally like, hey, there's a book that I've got that just yeah, I just totally want to read it now because of that. And then of course I've got Heartstopper volume number 3, which I've yet to read. This will be just a really quick read, as it is anyway, but yeah, this is a book that I definitely want to get read before the end of the year. And there you have it, guys. That is the end of my mid-year book Freakout tag, my 2020 edition of it. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. Let me know your answers to these questions down below, or if you've done a video, you can link it down below as well. But that's it from me, guys. All of my social media links are, as always, I'll link down below in the description if you would like to follow me elsewhere. But that's it from me. My name is Katie. Keep smiling, keep reading, and be happy, and most importantly, stay safe, and I will see all of you wonderful awesome people in my next video. Bye.